Gosh, I love J.K. Rowling's storytelling sensibilities. I love how she, with every one of her books and these last two Fantastic Beasts films, has attempted to craft stories that are actually saying something. Stories that thematically have some real depth and are actually endeavoring to teach us some important lessons about the world around us and about ourselves. And with Fantastic Beasts' Crimes of Grindelwald, Jo Rowling is arguably delving into some of the most complex and nuanced thematic material to date. She clearly wanted to make a film that wasn't just about fantastic magical beasts, even though those creatures were indeed seen throughout the film and were a real treat to behold. She was ultimately wanting to make a film about the beasts in all of us. Beasts that sometimes push us away from those that we love, ones that make us believe that we're all alone and can never be known, beasts that sometimes make us see those around us as inferior or less worthy of respect, dignity, and love, beasts that sometimes tell us that we are less worthy of respect, dignity, and love. And the whole film really was about that, and expertly wove those narrative ideas and themes pretty much through every action sequence, character decision, and plot turn. Look closely, and it's there. Speaking of those action sequences, though, this film really did have a collection of extremely creative and visually arresting action set pieces. The opening of the film especially was exhilarating to watch. It was just fantastic to see director David Yates, who has now directed 7 Harry Potter films, really continue to up his game as an action set piece director. As much as I really do want him to pass off the director baton to someone else for future installments, allowing another filmmaker to add his or her distinct passion and unique visual flair to the series, Yates nonetheless has been able to do an admirable job continuing to bring something fresh to each new film that he directs, as well as provide just enough of that familiar look and feel to this world to make it oh so much fun to return to. The way that he continues to, for example, lens Stuart Craig's pitch perfect production design with such full, colorful, detailed cinematography, so often lacking in so many big-budget blockbusters these days, remains a real treat. With this film especially, Yates too seemed to understand what Rowling was really trying to do on a narrative and thematic level, augmenting those elements in a few key moments with some really memorable cinematography. In one of those moments, the director practically had the characters break the fourth wall, quite nearly looking us, the audience, directly in the eye. And the effectiveness of that creative decision was undeniable, helping us to feel how difficult it really can be to be fully known, as well as how exhilarating it can be. Speaking of us getting to know those characters, that was yet another reason that I was really looking forwards to this sequel. I wanted to better understand Newt and Tina, Jacob and Queenie, what drove them, and what made them uniquely them. And, of course, when it comes to unique, there really have been few other characters in this entire franchise as one-of-a-kind as Newt Scamander. And honestly, because he was so quirky, isolated, and enigmatic, both Rowling and Yates have had quite the task in helping us, the audience, to really understand him. As such, I thought the addition of Newt's brother in this film, who acted as this great foil to Newt, really was a brilliant move. For me, though, I think the greatest thing that this film did was actually help me to realize something that I'm sure many others already have. That being, this franchise and the lead character of Newt are so intentionally different from the Potter franchise and the lead character of Harry. Harry was quite literally the chosen one. He was the prophesied individual who would face down the great, he who must not be named. That is not Newt Scamander, at all. To compare him to the characters in the Harry Potter series, Newt really is the love child of Luna Lovegood and Neville Longbottom. He is not the chosen one. He is not the hero that we expect at all. And that contrast just makes for a whole host of different dynamics in this series, most of which are very fun to watch. With all of that said, Crimes of Grindelwald really had a lot of problems. I earlier mentioned that I really appreciate Jo Rowling as a storyteller, and I stand by that. But, to be more accurate with that statement, I should add that I appreciate her as a storyteller when she's working in the medium of a novel. In that form, there is so much more time to introduce side character after side character after side character, to properly tee up those surprise twists, to actually justify massive exposition dumps in the final act, and to add such essential nuance and dimension to all the characters' motivations and desires. But a film just does not have that kind of time, even if it's Lawrence of Arabia. Or rather, it doesn't have that kind of time if it's structured like a novel, depending most on the spoken word over powerful, communicative visuals. I think Crimes of Grindelwald would have been a really solid novel. Unfortunately, Rowling wasn't writing a novel, but a screenplay, and she didn't write a very good one. There were just way too many characters in this film, and way too many quote-unquote surprise twists. Not having the time that they needed to be properly set up and presented, so much of it just felt cheap and unengaging. And speaking of things being underdeveloped, so many of the characters in this film, ones who I thought were the leads of this franchise, had so little to do in this installment, which wouldn't have been quite so egregious if they didn't have to make really, really important decisions by the end of this film. No spoilers, but there were some very big dramatic moments in this film's third act, and I either couldn't believe them at all or just couldn't feel anything when they occurred because no real time had been spent in setting them up. Also, as much as Rowling was attempting to cover new ground thematically, narratively she did end up repeating herself quite a few times. More drinking of Polyjuice Potion, more sneaking into Ministries of Magic, more chasing people on broomsticks through stormy skies. Sure, all of it's still fun, but no longer fresh. Now, to be clear, I don't want this franchise to throw in the towel. I remain genuinely interested in seeing where it will go in films 3, 4, and 5. But I also really hope that Rowling chooses to collaborate with another screenwriter on future installments. She just so desperately needs to learn how to more cinematically communicate information and more concisely tell a story. And for all of these reasons, I will give the film a 3 out of 5 and a heart. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film though, so definitely comment below and let me know. And finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.